G'day Bomber fans, it is time for our monthly look at the silly season, and it's a good time to do so because there is a lot of news surrounding us and our trade activity. I will also be answering your questions you asked me last week at the end in a cheeky little Q&A, but first, Manscaped. Bomber fans, if you want silky smooth balls, not footballs, balls, you can find great body grooming gear for them at manscaped.com. Just head over, buy whatever you want, and you can save 20% off with my discount code EverythingEssendon20. Now onto the video. As always, starting with our own players, possible outgoing ones, Darcy Parish seems to be staying, despite offers from Geelong. He has gone public and professed his love for the club under coach Brad Scott. He really likes the guy. We should expect to see news of a contract soon. This one is, touch wood, just about done. There is still a bit here with Mason Redman though. The general consensus appears to be that he will stay. He has said he is happy at Essendon, but he hasn't gone out of his way to settle nerves like Parish did. He is obviously linked to the Adelaide Crows. He is from Millicent, a country town in South Australia. He played junior footy and boarded in the city, so yes, there is a hometown link despite what people say. He has also supposedly bought a property in Millicent, I believe. I saw some reports of that, but Cal Toomey, the Bomberman himself, has said he is confident in Redman staying, so I believe him. Massimo D'Ambrosio has had contract talks put on hold. There are no links to certain clubs, but if one came knocking with promises of more game time, because at the moment Mass is either playing the sub role or in the VFL, he would be silly not to listen. We want to keep him, I would say. Other clubs might want him more though, so who knows. And on to the news you really care about, incoming players, starting with Ben McKay. We've had huge links with him in the last week. We reportedly have a $2 million salary cap war chest, and we are going to target a key defender, more specifically Ben McKay, who will be wanting over $700k a year apparently. We are in the market for a big key defender. Ben McKay has links to the clubs with officials and coach Brad Scott. This is one I am keen to see unfold because I really like the guy. We do supposedly have some backup options. Harry Himmelberg is seen as the plan B if we miss out on McKay, a very fine swingman from GWS, a bit more reliable with his body, but not the big key defender that we want as a fan base. He will cost a bit more money as well. He's on a huge contract at GWS already. He's a bloody fine player though, so it's barely a fail if we do get him. There is of course also Tom Doedee, a Victorian Crow. He is on the long-term injury list, ACL I think from memory, so not ideal, but he is also a bit smaller than what we need, so I doubt we really come out firing for him. On to another position we wish to bolster, the wings, and James Jordon from Melbourne is a potential option. He's on the fringe a tad at the D's after winning a flag there a few years back. He is still quite young, linked with us and the Gold Coast Suns. I really like him as a player, high footy IQ, very different to Sam Durham, so I wouldn't mind seeing this one unfold just to see how it improves our squad makeup. Us, St Kilda and the Bulldogs have been named interested in Freo wingman Liam Henry, who absolutely killed us the other week. He can play wing, he can play small forward. I would personally prefer James Jordon over Henry, but he does supposedly want to go back to Victoria. James Harms is one we were solely linked with, only us, the only club, a while back in the year though. Haven't heard much since the initial rumours. He is reliable, a bit older, can play a role. We have many players like him, so I don't know where this one is going, if I'm being honest. Tom de Koning, I don't really see us doing much here. We were named early in the year, but this is going to be between St Kilda and Sydney. We are just in the back seat watching the chaos unfold. We aren't going to be picking him up, I reckon. It wouldn't be a trade video without mention of Ben King. We aren't getting him this year, no one is, but he is out of contract in 2024, and then every other club in the league will be trying to acquire his services. The last one I will discuss is a bit weird, but Sam McClure reported on Wednesday that Livewire forward Orazio Fantasia may be seeking a move back to Victoria, back to the Essendon Bombers. This is a really strange one. I loved Fantasia at the Dons. I think he is as talented and crafty as any forward currently on our list, but his body has just gotten worse at the power, his injury troubles. I struggle to see how he fits in our team. We have a lot of small forwards, a lot of small forward depth. Don't know how this one would play out. Now we have some questions from you guys. I should say before I start, I don't claim to have any info not available to the public. I'm just an Essendon nerd. I keep up to date with all the news, so everything I say is either an opinion I hold personally or something I have seen more credible sources say. Alright, so two similar questions to start, but a good place to get it going, I feel. Pretty much both asking where we need to improve on for our list, what areas, and Kyle King asks who we can trade or draft to fix them. I think the main issue is key defense. We need an elite key back. BCT is good, but we can improve on him with someone like Ben McKay, who I spoke about earlier. It's the area we are definitely targeting, that and the wing, I would say. That's what the players we are linked to this year suggests. The key forward depth is frustrating because we have promising youngsters, and the out-of-contract stars come about next year in the form of Ben King, Todd Marshall, Aaron Norton, so I think we will wait on key forwards for the next year or the year after that. As for the draft, I'll make a video on this in the coming weeks when we know where we will finish on the ladder, what range we will finish, but there are some really decent looking prospects for us to choose from. I doubt we go for any any key position players in this draft, but you got Zach Reed's brother Archer is one of them. There are some smaller players like Nathan Phillips-Tides. He's fun. Darcy Wilson, if we miss out on win targets, he could be a wing prospect we pick up, the best in the draft. Jake Rogers might be around our range as well. I'll check out a video on the draft later on in the year though, but yeah, key defense, wing, forward, maybe a ruck for when Phillips goes. That's what we're in need of. Speaking of position, Gumby asks if we should go for a key forward, a mature key forward, sorry. Yeah, I don't want us grabbing a prospect option for our bookend. We already have so much depth. Pat Voss, Harry Jones, Jaden Hunter, James Stewart, Sam Wiedemann, Peter Wright. I don't want another young one there who will be in and out of the VFL. So if we get a key forward, it has to be a first team player, a star, maybe rhyming with Ken Bing. XZT Rainbow asks if we should trade for a key back or just a bigger defender. That's the question really that you have with someone like Tom Doedee or Ben McKay. I think we need a big-bodied key back though. BZT is really low down for one-on-one losses. He's one of the worst bookends in the comp for them statistically speaking. We need someone who won't lose as much as he does, so definitely a big-bodied key back like Ben McKay. Dan asks if Ben McKay is an ideal option for us. Speaking of Ben McKay, definitely he is that big body we need. I love him as a player, really underrated. The only question mark is his body. He does have some injury issues, he goes down a lot, and in a team like Essendon that usually struggle in that department, it won't help to have another injury-plagued defender, but I really do like him as a player if he can get his body right. Jay asks if Tom Barras from West Coast is a good trade target. I would say yes, but I doubt he comes to us. He is getting huge offers from Sydney, apparently, and he is on the trade table, it seems. They're doing bits this trade period, Sydney, I reckon, and I think we want more of a lockdown defender rather than intercept. We already have Ridley and Redman and Laverde who come off their opponents a lot. I think I would rather McKay over Barras, but that is just me. Barras is a fine player anyway, though. Healing Hikes Australia asks if we should trade Alistair Lord and another player for higher draft picks. In theory, it's a good idea, but no one's going to want Lord. He is most likely just going to be delisted at the end of the year. He hasn't really shown much in the VFL at all. Even if we did trade him off, even if a club randomly wanted the guy, it would be for basement picks, like proper garbage picks that we wouldn't even use, so I doubt we trade Lord. He is just getting delisted, I reckon, unfortunately for the guy. Rob says the Kangas seem cooked for a while. Are there any young North players you think we could or should tempt away from Arden Street? Hopefully Ben McKay, as I've talked about a lot, but I think a lot of their younger players will be signed on for a little while. George Wardlaw was an Essendon fan growing up, but it's rare to see Victorian players so young move across the street just like that. Really, they are trying to play footy at that age, at that young age, so I doubt we get anyone really from there unless it's a mature aged player. It's a young team as well, so they would have a youthful culture that the players will probably feel quite comfortable in, but in a few years I would gladly accept George Wardlaw if he wanted to join us. Rob also asks about Gold Coast and GWS and if there are any fringe players that we could grab. Not really, to be honest. Alex Sexton I guess would be handy, but we have players like him. Jeremy Sharp is on the trade table but going to WA. Ned Moyle, their ruckman, would just be in the VFL under Nick Bryan on the pecking order. Jai Farah, Alex Davies, that's about it for Gold Coast really. I would say GWS is even less. Oh, Elijah Hollands as well for Gold Coast. He's probably going to be moved on, but he could be handy, but more so in our VFL. GWS, Ralston, Matt Flynn if we want mature ruck, but he isn't even that experienced. They're both pretty average teams, so any fringe players they have will probably just be fringe players for us as well. I don't see any of them being like Peter Wright and exploding in a new environment, but there are a few names I can think of being a very slight chance, I guess. Nothing really there though. CPT Moonlight asks what's the status on Mason Redman. Yeah, I think he's staying from what those in the industry say, but I don't know. It's definitely not a sure thing. People will say they know, but no one really aside from him does at the minute. If it's left this late, there is a bit there. That is usually the go with free agency. I am less sure with Redman than I am with Parish, but hoping he stays. And we end with a fun one. If Essendon could take any one player regardless of plausibility until they either retire or request a trade, who would you take? I like it. Let's just say we can grab any player in the league. Jeremy Cameron knows how to play footy. He's pretty good, bit old though. Charlie Curnow and Peter Wright would be a great matchup, and it would annoy Carlton fans, which would be fun. Bontempelli, I think he is just about the best. He's my favourite player in the league. Most consistent player in the league as well. Big-bodied midfielder. We haven't had one of those for a while, but I do think it's hard to go past a key position player like Charlie Curnow because they're just massive for squad depth, and imagine the Carlton fans, they'd be furious. So that is that. Let me know if I missed any trade rumours. I did this video pretty quickly, but those are the main ones, and if I missed any questions, apologies, but cheers for watching. Like the video, subscribe, and go Bombers.